What's going on, Mitch? It's Gary from Start From Zero. We're analyzing your new trick. As we can see, you're going into the bowl successfully. Well, everything looks similar on both screens, landed and failed, up until the point that we reach here, where the timing of your flick is off by a second. And since you are a seasoned skater and you've been skating for over 15 years, skill is not necessarily your issue. It's going to be more so timing, because as human beings, it is still difficult to master the art of timing. And we see that here with the flick being slightly off from the top versus the bottom. With that being said, you send the board 100% vertical at the bottom versus the top, which causes the board to fly into you on the way up at the bottom, which then impacts the way you catch the board and land successfully.
So watching the second clip here, we can see as you roll into the transition, everything looks pretty similar. When we get up here, we can see that our foot positioning on the bottom is a little bit deeper in the pocket as opposed to the top. This minute difference has an impact on how you come up and eventually push the board further away from your hand, which doesn't allow you to grab it as you would at the top. And this was actually very close to being a land. The only thing was that foot positioning. So working on that flick as far as accuracy and timing is going to be important here.
Looking at a third attempt, I wanted to pull this one up because these were scary similar, almost identical on the way up to the transition until we get here to the ramp. We look at the foot at the top versus the bottom. You're starting to rise earlier at the top. We can even look at the board again there, which causes a delay, a slight delay, even like half a second delay, which causes you not to be able to grab the board and continue on the way down. This was also close to being a land as well. All right, to summarize, without going too in depth with geometry, I think it's important to analyze the video, yes, but it has to be fed back to the skater in a way to where they can incorporate this going at full speed. And if it weren't Mitchie, if it were anybody else, I would have to deliver this in a way to where they could actually take away action items to then be able to practice to land this trick successfully well over and over again without thinking about mathematics. So with that being said, the point of emphasis that I believe you should focus on, Mitchie, is around that front foot and heading up to the ramp, airborne to the flick. The flick is important because it is directly correlated to the second half of this trick. Everything that happens after that is correlated to how you catch the board in the air. It's correlated to how you then land as well, because if you can't catch the board, you can't land. And the rotation as well is also a part of the landing. So the flick is where I would focus on most, because based on the videos, or most of the videos that I've seen, none of the other attempts as it relates to the bails in comparison to the successful land. That front foot, looking at the front foot on most of the failed attempts, it was a lot deeper into the pocket. If it's a lot deeper into the pocket on the way up, then you're gonna have a hard time trying to catch the board, because if you think about your foot being a lot deeper into the pocket, you could inevitably put more pressure on the flick, which will cause it to move further away from your hand when you have to grab the board. If you look at the video going back to the successful landing, your front foot was lightly and already in a position without your ankle being too rolled to flick the board, to then catch it, to then land, which gave you at least somewhat of a rotation that you were looking for to successfully land this trick. So an action item that I would put around this for a professional skater or a new skater who was attempting this trick would be to focus on the trick, focus on the flick. And this could be done away from this transition. You could do it at home. I would say work on where your foot is positioned on the board during that flick and the weight distribution that you're adding to your front foot to make sure it's not heavy. You don't want it to be super heavy to where you push the board too far away from your hand. So you have to stay very light on that front foot, almost featherweight, and proceed to commit to a light flick to catch the board. Land properly, which would inevitably give you a solid rotation. That's all I got. Peace.